otras personas cuyas identidades no puedo revelar, y mi intervención en el traslado al convento fue forzada.
The man you're seeing on screen was named José López, and at that moment he was trying to hide $9 million that didn't belong to him. But the camera caught him. The world saw him. The corruption behind Argentina's Secretary of Public Works was exposed right in front of everyone. López was trying to conceal something no one should ever possess: money that wasn't his, money that belonged to the people, a people who pay taxes, who trust their politicians to improve the country, to give its citizens a dignified life. But the reality is different. Rigged contracts, million-dollar bribes, abandoned public works, and millions that vanish without explanation. This is not fiction. This is not an accident. It's the story of how one man used public money for his own benefit and how he was caught red-handed. Get ready to dive into one of the most scandalous plots of the Kirchner era. José Francisco López, a name that for more than a decade remained hidden behind the shine of Argentina's public works system. López was one of the most influential officials of the Kirchner era, Secretary of Public Works from May 2003 to December 2015. Born in Santa Cruz and part of President Néstor Kirchner's inner circle, he climbed the ranks with a speed that can only be explained by the absolute trust the president placed in him. For 12 years, he managed multi-million-dollar budgets. He was, in practice, the man who decided which company built what, who won a contract, and where the state's funds were directed. Under the oversight of Julio De Vito, he became the central piece of the system, the one in charge of distributing, supervising, and moving the money of public works. In political circles, López kept an apparently low profile. He didn't seek attention, he didn't chase cameras, but his closeness to power was undeniable. He had access, influence, and a structure that shielded him. And although rumors of illicit enrichment circulated, they never went further than that. They were whispers that got lost in the machinery of government until everything exploded. The story of José López hit rock bottom in a scene that looked like it was ripped straight out of a movie script, except it was completely real. One early morning in June 2016 became the moment when years of secrets and corruption were finally exposed. Leaving his home in Tigre around 3:15 a.m., López is seen driving a truck. This is not an ordinary trip. Inside, he was carrying 2 large duffel bags and a backpack packed with cash, along with a 6-hour 5.22 LR semi-automatic rifle and ammunition. It was the literal weight of years of illicit enrichment being transported toward the shadows of a convent. By 3:30 a.m., he arrives at the monastery of Our Lady of Fatima in General Rodriguez. A place of faith and silence receives an unexpected visitor. He rings the bell. After a few minutes, 2 nuns, including Sister Celia Aparicio, open the door. López begins unloading the bags, throwing them over the wall into the garden, while leaving the rifle on the ground, forgotten, a clear sign of his desperation and lack of control. Almost 2 hours later, cameras capture López walking out of the monastery, holding nothing but a small bag of cookies. The footage, recorded by Telefe Noticias, spread across the country within minutes. Meanwhile, on the ground, the rifle remains, a silent witness to his failed attempt to hide millions. A neighbor, horrified by what he was seeing, calls 911, a former government official standing in front of a cloistered convent with bags full of cash.
¿Tenía emergencia policial? Mira, no puedo parar. ¿Qué está pasando ahí? Hace como una hora. Trabajé en un convento de monjas. ¿Cómo? Un convento de monjas. Sí. Y quiero una para adentro y dejó el auto y afuera en la puerta. ¿Y un masculino saltó? Sí.
The Buenos Aires police arrive within minutes. Lopez tries to justify himself, claiming the money was meant to fund construction work at the convent. No one believes him. In that very moment, Lopez is arrested on the spot, next to his truck, the bags wide open and visible to everyone. The operation exposed the magnitude of the scandal: $8,982,047 US dollars, 153,610 euros, thousands of pesos and other currencies, along with high-end Rolex watches and firearms. The image of a top government official tossing bags of money over a convent wall went viral. That morning didn't just mark Lopez's arrest, it marked the collapse of his entire career and the public unveiling of a corruption system that had operated for years without oversight.
El número final es de $8.982.047, 153.610 euros, 59.114 pesos, 425 yuanes y algunos reales, que es una moneda, muy pocos, dos.
The mountain of cash found inside the convent had no legal backing whatsoever. Not a single one of those dollars appeared in Lopez's sworn financial statements. A public official with his salary could not, under any possible calculation, accumulate nearly $9 million. On paper, José López appeared to be almost a middle-class government employee. In his last sworn declaration in 2015, he claimed he didn't possess a single dollar in cash, just one vehicle, a few properties, and nothing else. At least, that's what he showed on paper, but reality exposed him in the most brutal way possible. When he was arrested, the state seized a mansion in Tigre, in the Dique Luján area, along with a luxury apartment in Recoleta. And the most shocking part, the duffel bags stuffed with nearly $9 million in cash that he had tried to hide that morning. The gap between what he claimed to earn and what he actually possessed wasn't just suspicious, it was impossible to justify. In total, Lopez carried $8,982,047 in cash, plus other foreign currencies, the night he was caught. There was no salary, no savings, no side activity capable of explaining that amount. A forensic review of his sworn statements confirmed the obvious. He had not declared a single bill, while in reality he was trying to hide almost $10 million inside bags. The contrast was devastating. The sudden appearance of million-dollar properties, undeclared money, and transactions that made no sense all pointed to a single conclusion: illicit enrichment built up over years, far from the modest image he had tried to project. From that morning on, criminal cases were opened for illicit enrichment, illegal possession of a war-grade firearm, and other charges that would eventually become one of the most emblematic corruption convictions in Argentina. The court concluded that the money was illicit, proceeds of corruption. Experts analyzed the bank straps wrapped around the bundles, $100 bills, many with consecutive serial numbers, a clear sign of massive withdrawals directly from banks. Nothing an ordinary individual could have gathered casually. When the time came to explain the origin of the cash, Lopez offered contradictory stories. First, he claimed the money belonged to people connected to politics. Later, already detained, he testified as a cooperating witness that the funds had been given to him by Fabian Gutierrez, former secretary to Nestor Kirchner, and that the true origin was the bribe money handled by Daniel Muñoz, the Kirchner's longtime frontman. All theories ultimately pointed to the same place.
Decir es que ese dinero no es mío. Y cuando antes señalé que es dinero de la política, es porque así me lo indicaron.
The structural corruption behind public works projects. Testimony from the Cuadernos corruption case identified Lopez as a direct recipient of kickbacks paid by road construction companies. What could not be established with certainty was who, specifically, had filled those bags. During the Kirchner years, public works became fertile ground for corruption, massive overpricing, highway projects budgeted over and over without explanation, and oversight that simply didn't exist. The Santa Cruz Highway Department was one of the clearest examples. Construction companies paid kickbacks ranging ranging from 3% to 20% of each project's total value. According to former officials and contractors, there was even a little cartel, a group of companies that predetermined before any bidding process who would win each contract. In practice, the contracts always ended up in the hands of friendly companies, such as those belonging to Lázaro Báez, Skanska, or Techint, in exchange for bribes. Projects were stretched out, costs multiplied, and controls were non-existent. Contractors confessed to paying huge, advance sums without justification. They also admitted receiving inflated work certificates to compensate for the bribes. Within that silent diversion of public funds, José López played a central role. His position was the key that unlocked the most lucrative contracts. In June 2019, a federal oral court delivered its verdict: 6 years in prison for illicit enrichment, the maximum penalty for that crime, confiscation of all the seized money to be donated to children's hospitals, lifetime disqualification from holding public office, and a fine equal to 60% of the illicitly obtained amount. Years later, in 2023, the Supreme Court upheld the conviction, which was ultimately set at 7.5 years in prison, 6.5 for illicit enrichment, and 1 year for carrying the military-grade weapon that night. The justice system also moved against those around him. His wife, Maria Amalia Diaz, received a 2-year suspended sentence as a secondary participant. Associated businessmen Galera, Gutierrez, Gianni received lighter penalties or were acquitted due to insufficient evidence. Sister Celia Aparicio, the nun who received the bags, was acquitted. No criminal intent could be proven. Despite Sister Celia Aparicio being cleared, the image of the convent was permanently marked and thrown into public debate. In the videos, you can clearly see the nun collecting the bags full of money with a firearm just inches away. This raised an inevitable question. Was she part of the plan, or, as she insists, did she truly have no idea what was happening? The scandal exposed deep flaws in the system, weak controls, ineffective audits, and contracts designed to allow money to be diverted without consequences. But above all, it revealed something that is always kept hidden. Corruption is not an abstract idea. It has a real impact. Every peso buried in that convent was a peso missing from schools, hospitals, roads, and the most basic public services. It was a direct blow to the people who actually pay the bill. And if this case shocked you, imagine what happens when corruption reaches an international scale. In my previous video, The Tycoon Who Scammed an Entire Country, The Fall of Vijay Mallya, I show how one man managed to bring an entire nation to its knees with a monumental fraud. Don't miss it. Both cases connect at a crucial point. When there are no exemplary punishments, no solid oversight, and no vigilant citizens, history repeats itself. The bags of millions remain a warning.